What's up, you guys? Zach here from PremiumBeat.com. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to be talking about match cuts and playing around with crosshairs and composed framing. You don't need crazy transitions. You don't need the next and latest plugin. All you need is your camera, composed shots, and thinking a little bit ahead. Let's get into it. For the sequence that I'm going to be teaching you how to do a match cut on, it's using faces, people's faces, and the composition of the faces within the frame. Now, composition is actually more important than what the subject matter is that you're capturing. So let's talk a little bit first about composing the frame. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean like this is how you tell the story. It actually means your audience and how they digest the information. So the reason why you want to keep your framing, let's say, dead center within the crosshairs is because you don't want your audience's eyeball to be bouncing around. So to do a proper match cut, you have to make sure the framing is in the exact same positioning. So a really good way to line up the shot is, let's say you have your three faces, go into your editing software, overlay each shot from on top of each other, put them all at half opacity. Then within this, line up everybody's eyeballs. This way, when your audience is watching, the first thing that they're gonna look at is your character or your subject's eyes, and then they'll lock onto that. And now if you do the match cut sequence, once all the shots are back into their original orientation without any sort of weird black framing around the edge, they will all cut within the same sequence. Now make sure everybody's heads are in the same positioning, but this will ensure that the framing is the exact same. But just as an example to show you guys if the eyeballs were off, or perhaps some guy's face is over here and other guy's face is over here, this is a sequence played out. It feels weird. Your eyes are bouncing all around. And this is something really good to understand with, let's say, when you're shooting an action film. I know from when they filmed Mad Max Fury Road, they played with the crosshairs. They made sure everything was dead center in the frame because they knew they were going to be editing things incredibly quick and incredibly fast. So fast that it would be too difficult for the audience to comprehend what was going on if everything was bouncing in the frame. So you guys can watch Mad Max Fury Road with a piece of tape and stick it dead center in your frame, and you'll notice how often the film plays out almost like a Wes Anderson movie. Now, the point of my tutorial is to teach you a little bit about how to do a triple face match cut, but you guys can do this with such a good name. Anyway, this is just the basics of match cuts. You guys can utilize match cuts for so many different projects, so many different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be people's faces. You could use like objects, shapes, basically anything that looks in similar shape and format. Play around with it. Faces are a really easy one, but you could do it with like someone snapping. So auditory cues are really helpful, but also so are objects and different things. If you have some sort of circular orb in one shot and then you match cut it to somewhere else, it starts to feel good. So play around with this. It's a really fun sequence to tinker with and an incredibly powerful one that doesn't involve crazy transitions, plugins, sound effects, nothing. Now, sound effects could probably help, but you don't need them. Anyway, that's all, folks. Thank you so much for watching and tuning into this. If you like what I'm talking about or didn't maybe write all of this information down while I was talking about it, there is a blog post attached to this that provides way more information in an easier, digestible way that you can read over and while you're editing, just take a look at it. And if you forgot anything within this, just check that out. I'll see you guys later. Keep making some great stuff. And oh wow, wide angle, punching at a wide angle, it just looks so cool.